Good evening, and welcome to another Malkat gin review. And tonight we're reviewing Isle of Harris gin. Now, Isle of Harris gin is from Tarbert in the Outer Hebrides. And if you're wondering where that is, all we have to do is take the cork off, and printed on the cork on the label is the latitude and longitude of the distillery. Now, as you can imagine, with a gin from the Outer Hebrides, there's a strong connection with the sea, both with the gin itself and with the bottle. This beautiful bottle design, especially for them, gives you visions of the swirling sea. And everything's lovingly done by hand, from the production of the gin itself to the bottling and even the stoppering.
They actually refer to this as a maritime gin because obviously they're surrounded by sea and they wanted it to represent where they come from. It only has 9 botanicals because they believe less is more, and we totally agree with that if you have your balance right, the right environment, you get a quality product and you don't need to overdo it.
Absolutely. Simple idea executed well.
This gin contains juniper, cassia bark, coriander seed, angelica root, bitter orange peel, which is both an interesting, sweet and bitter, cubis, which is an Indonesian spice and is on the peppery side. It's like a peppery ginger, licorice, orris root, and what makes this the most interesting thing and the star of the gin is sugar kelp. Now, the sugar kelp is sourced locally in a local sea loch, and it's sustainable, and the reason that it's sustainable is that they only dye for the lovely yellowy green kelp when there is an R in the month.
As you can imagine, in a remote location like that, the community are closely connected to their environment, and being sustainable is very important. As well as the botanicals, they source the water for their gin from a local stream known as Vin Kalach Al Quran. Hopefully I've pronounced that mildly correctly. They use a small copper still known as the dotach, I believe after a local lady of some note in the area. The copper still sits alongside the larger whiskey stills in the same distillery. Everything about this sounds fantastic. It's a reasonably new distillery. I think opened in 2015, so it hasn't been around long. But this is one that we've had on the radar for a while.
I've been watching for a bottle of this, and every site I went to, it was sold out. And we were down in Queenstown, and I spotted it. I said, "Well, we have to get that."
Yep. So Malkat on tour, we bought this on while we were away. So we're gonna have a good sniff of this one. So I'm getting quite soft flavours through, but then also quite a peppery quality, which I assume is the cubib. Tangy flavour, which possibly is the kelp. That's certainly quite smooth, and if you're of a mind, you could quite happily just sit there, I think, and sip on that straight, perhaps just with a little bit of ice in it. Having said that, we've got our G&Ts here, so Schlongevar.
Yum.
Yeah, that's quite delightful. It's not as botanical forward as a lot of contemporary gins. It's still got strong ties to more traditional gins, like your London Dries, but it's more complex than a London Dry. The peppery quality still comes through with the tonic and that tangy flavour as well from the other botanical. Yeah, I really like this.
I like this one as well, and I agree with you, it's very subtle. What's interesting about this is the first time we did this, because we did do it when we bought the bottle, we bought a bottle to have a drink of gin, and we knew, well, we better save half of it to do a review, and we had it with Schweppes. Got home and we didn't have any Schweppes in the fridge, but we've used the East Imperial Yazoo tonic, which obviously has Yazoo fruit in it. It doesn't taste as sweet as when it was with the Schweppes. It's still an interesting balance of sort of sweet savoury in there, and after you get sweetness sort of after. I mean, as I'm sitting here, the pepper's going away, and the heat, and now I definitely get sweetness.
It takes a lot for me to go away from Schweppes, because it's a standard and it's a good way to compare one gin to another, but I think having had it with Schweppes and now having had it with the East Imperial, this is actually better.
It was too sweet with the Schweppes, and then this is like Goldilocks. just right.
Really like this one a lot. You will have to do some searching online to find it, unless you're lucky enough to walk into a bottle sale as we did and see it sitting there on the shelf. Get into it. Gin is the winners.
Cheers.